Of course, I'll issue a disclaimer that's coming from a former politician. Thank you very much.
I would now like to call on Dean and Paul for the token. Secretary, we invite you in the front. So we thank Secretary Robredo for sharing his experience, expertise with us this morning. Debunking one of the major dichotomies that we have been struggling with in the field of public administration, politics and administration dichotomy, where he now says good politics can blend with good administration. Thank you very much, Secretary Robredo. Our next speaker this morning is going to allow us to focus our minds in the global arena. Straight from Canberra, Australia, where the office is based, our next speaker is the Director for Asia and Pacific of the International Institute for Development and Electoral Assistance. His wide experience in the international field as technical assistance has brought him to different countries, including Indonesia, Bosnia and Herzegovina, and Cambodia. He has also a wide experience in the field of politics as a member of the Liberal Democratic Party of the United Kingdom. And he has academic preparation, having earned his master's degree of science and statistics from the University of Newcastle. Ladies and gentlemen, the Director of International IDEA, Mr. Andrew Ellis, to speak to us on promoting and sustaining democracy.
Madam Chair, distinguished colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, I'm delighted to be here today so that we can celebrate together the anniversary of the work and achievement of our partners at NCPAC. There are many very good reasons to do this. One, from my point of view, is that having been born in 1952 myself, it is wonderful to see an organisation which is 60, which is not creaky, and which is still becoming stronger, more relevant, more vibrant, and more effective in its work. Another, much more fundamentally, is that NCPAC's role in public administration and governance plays a fundamental mission in developing and in supporting democracy, not only here in the Philippines, but also much more widely in the world. I've been asked this morning to talk about promoting and sustaining democracy worldwide, and there are challenges in both of those concepts. Let me start with democracy promotion, which is a concept that I find myself very much grappling with. What does this actually mean? What is the message that those words convey? Does the way we actually frame this concept tell us something about sustaining democracy? Now, many of you will recall that political change was forcibly imported from the US to Iraq not so long ago, and that was done in the name of democracy promotion and of freedom. So that action and its consequences have defined the way we understand the words democracy promotion. They're associated with a one-size-fits-all model of democracy that you can export to other nations. Now, even if you don't do this at the barrel of a gun, even if you send it in a box and open it up and unpack it, democracy promotion has become synonymous with externally imposed change. It doesn't particularly work, and the effect has been a hardening of the democracy-building landscape in authoritarian regimes, and a hardening of the resolve of those people who regard democracy as a Western imposition and not as a global value. The concepts that we use tell us a lot about how we view democracy. The words you use are very important, and at IDEA, we define our global mission as supporting locally owned and sustainable democratic change and working in democracy building, democracy support and democracy cooperation. The words are designed to match the concept, and the concept of democratic change is that there is not one model of democracy to be promoted, that democracy can be developed, can be deepened, can be sustained, if it is led, if it is designed, if it is owned within the community and within the country. Democracy has one value, but many contexts. In saying it has many contexts, I have the good fortune to be responsible for working on democracy in Asia with people and in societies that are dynamic, that are positive, that are optimistic. As political and economic power is moving east, the countries of democratic Asia, India, Indonesia, Japan, the Republic of Korea, got here in the Philippines, are all developing their own distinctive democratic contexts, their own records of experience, their own successes, their own challenges, but all building democracies with confidence, with strength, with experience and expertise to share. The global cause of democracy will be hugely strengthened as the traditional democracies have to come to realise that democratic Asia is an essential and equal partner in the endeavour of democracy building. Democracy also remains an aspiration for citizens in countries that are yet to democratise, and we see quite how powerful this is with the speed of change now underway in Myanmar, yet another process of democratic change that's being driven from the inside. But it's not just here in Asia. Democracy has high support in all regions of the world. It may be only 2 years ago that some of the political commentators were saying democracy has come to a standstill. We've seen, whatever the difficulties in the last 2 years, the beginnings of change in the Arab world, which was supposedly a region immune to democracy, and once again, therefore, the spirit of democracy appears to be on a forward march. Now, that forward march is not all optimism. Let's look at some of the challenges to sustaining democracy. The first one is actually most visible in some of the old established democracies. The challenges faced in Greece, in Spain, in Portugal, as they try to reconcile accountability to their citizens and accountability to unelected institutions at an international level. They're working in a context where unaccountable politics is probably leading to very bad economics, and therefore in a climate where the only solution can be the building of a global democratic architecture that matches global financial architecture. That is a huge challenge. Now let me bring it down to a national level in looking at support for democracy. There's data worldwide which shows global support for democracy, but much less satisfaction with it. There's clearly a call for the democracy community and the development community to be working much more closely together, to be exploring how democratic institutions and democratic processes can facilitate economic and social welfare, and how development assistance can support rather than erode democracy. All too often when you talk about democracy in development assistance circles, you're regarded as a slightly old person in the corner who has to be human rather than an integral part of the discussion. The democracy community and the development community need together to work out what institutional frameworks, formal and informal, support democracy, what institutional frameworks hinder it, how best to not only develop but sustain it. It will be sustained if it's able to change the lives of ordinary citizens for the better. It used to be the case that citizens could elect their representatives, let them go away, and then wait for the next election before anybody ever heard from them again. But that's no longer enough. Citizens rightly want democracy to deliver on its promise of a better life, will increasingly seek to be actively involved in demanding this. The assessments of democracy by citizens that inspires the Seahouse Regional Centre and is supported by ideas state of democracy and state of local democracy tools is designed to help citizens in breaking that closed circle of political elites and commercial elites which too often monopolises the decision-making process. One tool that citizens have is the surge of social movements and social moments. Again, the balance of the world is changing. It's predictable that the US has more Facebook users in the world than anybody else, but the next 5 countries are Brazil, India, Indonesia, Mexico and Turkey, and the Philippines isn't far behind. Technology has enabled movements or moments to eject long-standing dictators from office, as the Philippines knows at least as well as anybody. Recently in the Arab world, also recently in Senegal, where a united opposition with civil society support ousted through the ballot box a president who manipulated the constitution to go beyond his term.